Hospital Paranormal Encounters. It was a night shift, and I'd been called to check on a patient whose IV line had failed. Pretty routine. I made my way over, expecting just another quick fix before moving on. When I arrived, there was a man sitting upright in bed, smiling at me. But something was off. His face seemed to glow, almost unnaturally bright in the dim hospital lighting. We chatted briefly, nothing out of the ordinary. Then, mid-conversation, his expression shifted. His eyes locked with me and said, "Life's gonna be good to you." I wasn't sure how to respond, so I just thanked him and left unnerved. At the end of my shift, I caught the bus home, trying not to think too much about it. The next night, something nagged at me. The man had been too strange. I decided to check on him, just to put my mind at ease. But when I reached his bed, it was empty. I asked the nurses where he'd been moved. They exchanged confused glances. That bed had been empty for the past 3 days. That couldn't be right. Maybe they were mistaken. I searched his patient number in the system. Deceased 4 days ago. I stood there, staring at the screen, trying to make sense of it. Had I been witness to something supernatural? A crime? A bizarre prank? I reported it, just in case, but I never got any real answers. Still, to this day, however, I close my eyes at night, I see one thing burned into my mind: his glowing, smiling face. There was a surgical foundation year doctor on night shift, making his way back to SAU after reviewing a patient in the urology ward. When he arrived, he looked drained, his face ashen. Someone joked, "You look like you've seen a ghost." His response was quiet, almost hesitant. "I think I have." As he swiped out of the ward and stepped into the dimly lit corridor, he noticed a girl standing against the wall, facing the ward door. She was young, no more than 5 or 6, wearing a red dress, alone, too late for a child to be wandering the hospital. He hesitated, then asked, "Are you okay?" No response. His pager buzzed, drawing his attention for only a moment. When he looked up again, she was gone. The corridor stretched out, empty and silent. Months later, when I rotated to O&G in the same hospital, I shared his stories with the nurses on night shift. One of them, a senior nurse, visibly tensed. Her hands shook slightly as she put down her drink. "I've seen her too," she whispered. She'd been at the vending machine when she caught a glimpse of movement in the reflection. A small girl in a red dress, standing behind her, watching. When she spun around, there was nothing there, just the hum of the machine and the distant beeping of monitors. I worked at an old-age psychiatric hospital in Walsall, a place with incredible staff, supportive seniors, and a job I genuinely loved. But if you asked the HCAs and night nurses, they'd tell you something else about that place. Something unsettling. The hospital had once been a maternity ward, and according to those who worked through the night, it hadn't forgotten. Laughter, high, sweet, unmistakably that of babies, echoed through the empty corridors. Staff passing by the building at night would glimpse small figures inside, darting between the windows where no children were ever supposed to be. It was never the psych patients that haunted that place. It was always the children, the pregnant women, echoes of what the hospital had been before. I never believed in ghosts, I still don't. But one day, I was alone in the section of the hospital where the doctor's office was. It was silent, except for the occasional murmur of activities from the wards. Then, a knock. I stepped out. No one was there. I sat back down, brushing it off. Then, another knock. Louder. Closer. Again. The corridor was empty. When I was a new nurse working on the stroke unit, I was setting up a bed for a new patient. The room's TV was on, playing the news, and another nurse had been in with me, but had stepped out to make a phone call. As I finished up and headed out, I passed the bathroom. The door was open. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw something standing near the sink, facing the mirror. I barely thought about it, just assumed it was my co-worker. But as I walked past, something naggled at me. I backpedaled, glancing inside. The bathroom was empty. A chill ran through me, but I didn't say a word. Who would believe me? It wasn't until a night shift later on, when some of the older nurses started swapping stories, that I realised I wasn't alone in what I'd seen. They were talking about the lady in white. Apparently, she had been seen a lot lately, moving around the hospital, always near bathrooms. Sometimes she would stand there, watching. Other times the sinks would turn on by themselves, the water running even when the rooms were empty. I finally told them what I had seen. They just nodded like it was nothing new, like they'd all been expecting it. That was just one eerie thing I've experienced in the hospital, but there have been more, and lately they've been happening even more often. My dad was a nurse in the ER. Funny enough, he and my mum actually met over a dead body, but that's a story for another day. One story of his stuck with me more than any other. A group of 4 young people, late teens, maybe early 20s, had been in a horrific car crash. 3 of them died on impact. The 4th was rushed to the ER, barely clinging to life. My dad and the team did everything they could. The room was chaos, blood everywhere, hands working frantically, trying to pull this kid back from the brink. They shocked him once, nothing. Again, nothing. Again, still nothing. The defibrillator wasn't helping. Then, just for a second, they all hesitated. The moment before you have to call it. The moment you realise there's nothing left to do. That's when it happened. From the upper corner of the room, a voice boomed, loud, commanding, impossible to ignore. Don't stop. Every person in that room froze. They searched for the source, but there was none there. Just the failing monitors, the smell of blood and anesthetic, and the weight of something unseen pressing down on all of them. They tried again, pushing forward, desperate, but the line of the monitor never moved. The patient was gone. My dad carried that moment with him for the rest of his life. Hearing stories like this growing up, I knew I could never work in the medical field. The things my parents saw, the things they heard, I don't think I have the strength for it. So, to everyone who does, thank you for everything. My dad was on call for a night shift in a hospital in Northern Ireland a few years ago. He told us 2 stories from that place, one strange and the other downright chilling. It was 2 a.m. and he had gone upstairs to take his break. The main hospital was active downstairs, but the upper floors, empty, no wards, just abandoned clinic rooms, a quiet library space, and the doctor's break room. He sat there, alone, trying to unwind, when he heard it. Distant voices whispering. Faint at first, then swelling into a low murmur, as if a room full of people were talking just out of sight. He ignored it, probably just exhaustion playing tricks on him. A few nights later, something far more bizarre happened. He had bought himself 2 Rustler's burgers, stashed one of them in the fridge for his break, but when he went to heat them up, gone. Frustrated, he opened the bin in the staff room, and there they were, both boxes empty. Someone had been eating them, but who? There was no one else up there. Then came the night that truly unsettled him. Weeks later, around 1 a.m, he was heading upstairs for a quick break. The corridors were empty, the whole floor silent, but as he turned a corner, he saw them. 2 women walking side by side, old-fashioned nurse uniforms, the kind that hadn't been worn since the late 90s or early 2000s. They moved together, laughing softly, their pale faces framed by dark hair. He caught only a glimpse as they passed through the cross-section of the corridor. Then they were gone. He told himself that it was just staff in old uniforms. That's what he wanted to believe, but the problem was, the hospital was a new build. Operations had only moved here a few years prior. There was no reason, no logical reason, why 2 nurses in outdated uniforms would be walking those corridors in the dead of night. Thanks for listening. If you enjoy my stories, make sure to follow me. Thank you, and I'll see you on my next video.